Was this from the Draymond Green show? Okay. Draymond on his podcast. And again, like we can give you a little bit of this. Here's another taste of Steve Ashburner, NBA.com, who was with Steiny and Goo earlier today.
The taste of the Ashburner?
Yeah, he burned some things, mainly Jimmy Butler. Take a listen.
Enjoy the honeymoon. This gets down to the situation of, are you going to believe what he says about the fifth wife, or are you going to believe with how it worked out with all the first four wives? I think that Jimmy Butler is, I don't know how to say it. He sort of burns through relationships, seems to me.
Okay. So there's that criticism, and then here comes Draymond. I want to know, everybody, stop what you're doing, because this one's intricate. This one's got a lot to it, and we would really love to get your reaction to this. I can't wait. You and I haven't talked about this yet. I want to know what your reaction is to this. This is what Draymond says about people who get down on Jimmy Butler.
I see how people can get tired of Jimmy, because if you're not a basketball head, if you don't love this and you over-communicate like Jimmy and you dot every T, dot every I and cross every T, losers will get frustrated with that. If you don't love, eat, breathe this and more importantly, winning, you can get frustrated with that. So I can see in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it's been, how someone can get frustrated with Jimmy. Because most people aren't winner. The things that he's doing, it's music to my ears. To talk basketball with somebody that know the basketball game like Jimmy and listen and learn from somebody who know the game like Jimmy, it's music to my ears, him over-communicating the way he does.
Okay, so he's an over-communicator, but if you don't like it, Dibs, it's because you're a loser.
Yep. It feels a little harsh, but I was just thinking about it as I heard that clip, and I'm wondering how many winners he's ever played with. How many championship winners?
Jimmy or Draymond?
Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy.
Because he's talking about Jimmy. And, I could see where people get tired of Jimmy, because if you get tired of Jimmy over-talking, you're a loser. And the one name that I can't help but think about is a guy who we know is a champion. He was a champion here. He played with Jimmy Butler.
Andrew Wiggins?
Yeah. So stand on it, Draymond. Stand on what you say. Stand on what you do. What you're saying is Andrew Wiggins is a loser.
Whoa.
You're saying what he's saying is, don't whoa me.
No, that's...
Don't whoa me.
No,
don't whoa me. What Draymond is saying is that people who play with Jimmy Butler and they get tired of Jimmy Butler are losers. Andrew Wiggins played with Jimmy Butler.
We don't know that Andrew Wiggins got tired of Jimmy Butler.
Well, they got tired of Jimmy Butler.
But he's one person.
I'm drawing from A to B to C. Draymond Green is saying that Andrew Wiggins is a loser.
You drew from A to B to P. How the hell do you know?
A to B to W.
How do you know how Andrew Wiggins and Jimmy Butler got along in Minnesota? How the hell would you know that?
All I know is
there's literally been a sum total of 0 words written about that
Jimmy
in the
Butler
history.
Called the entire team out onto the floor, and he wanted to fight the team, and then he took the third stringers, and he took them apart, and then he got himself out of town.
First of all,
that
yes,
we know.
That's the urban legend
yep.
of the whole thing, number one. And number two, I have no idea where Andrew stood on that. I have no idea if
Probably on the weak side.
Oh, we have no idea. We have no idea. I know what everyone's perceptions of Andrew Wiggins are, but there's a lot of different personalities in this league. You don't have to be a, quote, dog to be a winner. And by the way, you don't have to have won a championship to be labeled a winner. Is Derrick Rose not a winner? He played with Derrick Rose. They beefed a little bit. Is Derrick a loser?
Couldn't win the NCAA title game.
He won an MVP.
Missed a couple of free throws.
For real, though. You know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
You're not a loser.
I'm just reacting to what he said. And Draymond said it with his chest.
But he just said, if you're bothered by Jimmy. I have no idea if Andrew is bothered by Jimmy. I have no idea.
Well, we don't know if anyone's bothered by Jimmy other than Pat Riley.
No, we do know some. We know some people who have gotten into headbutting matches with Jimmy Butler. By the way, important to point this out about his time in Miami. When you asked the players loved Jimmy Butler. Now, that's public statement, so maybe they're not sharing their full opinion. I don't know. But when this was all going down and Jimmy Butler, quote unquote, quit on his teammates, I never heard any teammates say that. Nobody in Miami, Tyler Hero didn't say that. They said, we love Jimmy and we respect Jimmy. Now, when Devondre Campbell quit on his teammates, the whole league walked up to a microphone to be like, that guy's a loser. So, which is it?
Well, that was a mid-game quit.
Of course.
And it was a mid-game quit where you didn't have other linebackers who could play. So Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, who was already hurt, had to go in there and play because Devondre Campbell decided he couldn't play. And we both were at that game. I was in the press box eating 7 square meals with Mark Grandy. And, when we saw that happen, I was like, Grandy, you see that? And he said, pass the salsa. And I said, here you go. And it was like, oh, my God. And then you had, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, who was already hurt, who had to go in there and play. So this is not that. It's
not. But you know what I'm saying.
And I don't even know if he quit on his team.
Sometimes guys will speak out, and sometimes they won't. No member of the Miami Heat ripped Jimmy Butler on the way out the door.
Right. And you know what they did when he quit on the team? They went out and won games. They had the same record without Jimmy Butler as they did with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of I don't know how engaged he was all year. Even when he played. They
were 500 with Jimmy Butler, and when he shut it down, they still were about 500. And since then, over the last, in the Wiggins era, they're 1-6.
Yeah, they're not 500 anymore.
No.
So, they're a worse basketball team today than they were 2 weeks ago.
I just hear Draymond's comments. I hear Draymond's comments, and I think about all the players that Jimmy Butler has played with, and it feels to me like Draymond Green is calling all of those guys out. The crew in Minnesota, the crew in Miami. In Philadelphia, he was there for 55 games, but he was only in Minnesota for not even a season and a half. Yeah, season and 10 games.
I'm not even disagreeing with that thought as much as what I think he's doing. He's propping up Warrior culture, which Draymond always does. He always does this. It's just another chapter in the book. Draymond Green is telling you, all of you other organizations don't know how to do what we know how to do.
Yeah.
He does that all the time. Don't let us win another bleeping championship. I mean, is it going to come off as completely arrogant, pompous? Yep. And that's nothing new. So, I guess the only difference you and I have on that is you're sort of saying that Draymond's calling out individuals. I think he's calling out organizations. I think that's what he's doing. He's saying if Jimmy Butler didn't fit in your organization, that's because your organization doesn't know how to do it. And if his over-communication bothers you, you're not a hoop head. I don't know. Maybe Andrew Wiggins loved it because Andrew doesn't want to be the communicator. He doesn't want to be the leader. So maybe he loved playing with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, and I don't know. And I would wonder what the Minnesota perspective was. We heard the Chicago perspective earlier from Steve Ashburner and others, but the Minnesota one is the one that strikes me as interesting because he was there for one season and then 10 games, and he got dealt.
Yep.
So, Chicago, he was there for 6 full years, and they did what they did, and, Derrick Rose got hurt, and they had a pretty good veteran team that could never quite get over the hump, and then you go to Minnesota, and within a year and change, you want out, and then you get out, and you go to Philadelphia, and then they don't want you, and then you go to Miami, and, you're there for 4 or 5 years before you blew up that spot. So I think it's pertinent when you look at Golden State. It's different. He's older. They're older. And he doesn't really have the opportunity to do what he did in Minnesota now because he's 35.
Right. He's 35, and he's walking into a completely different culture with more accomplished star teammates. That's the other thing,